Kyrie Jesu Domine, dona eis requiem.
Good morning, everybody. Yesterday we did not have a video because the reality roll happened. I thought about it early in the morning and it didn't work out, and next thing you know, well, the day is done, and so is Tom. So this morning I was listening to Scott Adams, the Dilbert guy. He's one of my favorite podcasts. I don't agree with him on a number of things, but he's very good to listen to. He certainly asks a lot of questions, which is a lot better than everybody who's out there just making loads of statements, even though most of the podcasts I tend to listen to are very conservative. He's a liberal, and Ruben is a liberal. I like listening to them and a few of the other people that would be qualified as the intellectual dark web, because they're interested in dialogue. They really do want to understand things, because most on the left do not. But here's the thing that I want to talk about, that Scott Adams mentioned in this podcast. There's some report out there that less men are having sex than ever. And, all the speculation of that. Many on the left are saying because women are empowered and liberated now, and so it's all the resistance movement, the Me Too movement, all those things have had a collateral effect. And Scott Adams said, well, that could be true. But he said, what if that's not the case? What if it's that men are not seeking sex as much because of the quality of porn? That's an interesting thesis. And he gave his background. I don't know how old he is. I imagine he's in my wheelhouse and in his 50s. That used to be very different when he was a kid, and I vouch for that. Occasionally you'd find a magazine somewhere with tantalizing images in it. But literally now, unfortunately, you can go on the internet and find specifically whatever you want. And that's frightening. But that's how a man can find sexual fulfillment. And I would venture to say this, that comment about even less men having sex really is more of an indication of this, because of where our culture is. Because we can be honest that our culture often substitutes sex for a real relationship. What matters in our culture is who's sleeping with who. That's your sign of connectedness. And it's very shallow, and it's a very dangerous sign, which is why the church warns us about it, that the only safe place, the real use of the term, safe and sacred place for physical intimacy is holy matrimony, between a husband and wife. No one else. No exceptions. That's how simple it is and how cut and dry. But I would venture to say, as we look back, I don't know when we're going to mark this. I don't know if it's going to be the internet that was the beginning of it. I don't know if it was texting that was the beginning of it, or social media. I would put those three as the big three, that we are entering an unpersonal age where people really do not feel connected. They feel initially pacified because social media, the internet, and texting gives you a sense of connection. And texting and social media are kind of conditional. If you know the person on the other side that you're texting to or interacting with on social media and have a real relationship, apart from that, it's not a problem. But my concern and my question is, how many people have relationships solely based on internet presence? They've never met the person in reality. They don't know any of the person's warts, their foibles, their difficulties. All they know is whatever window that person allows them to interact through. That would be my question. So, I don't know when we entered the unpersonal age, but at some point we did, if we're not there already. And so porn and this lack of sex, my glasses on crooked, oh well, who cares? This lack of sex with guys is just kind of pulling back the curtain on that. I would say the huge spike in depression and suicide among our young people is realizing they've entered young adulthood with no friends, no real friends. And by real friends, I mean people who are willing to walk with you after you have offended them, people who are willing to stay with you after you have disappointed them, people who are willing to work with you when you are difficult. because we don't have to anymore. If you tick me off, I can ditch you and I can find 5 new friends probably in 5 minutes. And I might get lucky, and one of them might actually turn out to be a real fit. But the unpersonal age, when did it begin? Good question.